Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. My name is Joey, and this is my UFC Vegas 28 post-fight. The main event was Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Augusto Sakai, and I picked Rozenstruik by TKO. He ended up getting a KO in the first round, the very last second of the first round. And this card, on paper wasn't the greatest card, and it really just turned out to just be like an okay card. Even the main event, even though we got that crazy like buzzer beater KO by Rozenstruik, which isn't his first time doing that. I'll never forget when he did it to Alistair Overeem in the fifth round, where the fight he lost pretty much every round. Comes back and lands on Overeem's glass jaw and puts him to sleep with 1 second to go. This fight, there's really not much to say about the main event. I'm just happy Rozenstruik won because now my record for main events for the year goes to 15-3. I've only gotten 3 main event predictions wrong this year, so I'm on a hot streak. But pretty much the entire fight was just those guys feeling each other out. Rozenstruik landed a couple, good leg kicks, outside leg kicks, inside leg kicks. But, there was really no, super active combinations or anything like that. Both guys were kind of seemed nervous of each other's power. They were kind of, super tentative. It was the first round. Plus, with the cardio of some of these heavyweights, they gotta kind of have to save their energy because it's a 5 round fight. So, I think both guys were also keeping that in mind. And Rozenstruik was kind of pressuring him for the most part. Sakai threw a couple like front body kicks to try to negate the pressure, but he really wasn't able to. Rozenstruik just kept pushing in. That 10-second timer hit. He was kind of chasing him down. Sakai kind of had his back up against the cage, and in a weird way, and this is a weird comparison, it almost reminded me of the Oliveira Chandler finish in a weird way, and I'll tell you why in a second. Rozenstruik was like chasing him with the left hook, and Sakai was just trying to circle out against the cage. He missed really with the left hooks, and then I think he landed, it was a right hand on the temple, put him down with like 2 seconds. I think he landed like 2 follow-up strikes. His head was bouncing off the canvas. Herb Dean did a great job coming in and stopping it, even though it was the end of the round, waves it off, and a great performance by Rozenstruik, and I'm happy that he won. But I don't know where he necessarily goes from here. I mean, maybe he could fight the guy who won in the co-main event. Somebody also said in the live stream that I did, maybe he should fight Curtis Blades next. That's an excellent option as well. But that fight against Cyril Gane, it just sticks out in my mind right now where he did absolutely nothing. And I don't know how he would fare against, the top heavyweights as in Gane, Ngannou, and also possibly John Jones and or Derek Lewis as well, and Stipe. I wouldn't mind seeing a future fight between Rozenstruik and Lewis, but Lewis is probably fighting for the title next, so we'll see. Heavyweight division is very barren. I've always complained, the heavyweight is the weakest division in all of the UFC. But at least we got a kind of fun knockout tonight. The fight wasn't that great. Basically the knockout was all the options. All the action. Basically, if you watched the knockout, you saw the whole fight because there was only a couple leg kicks in between there for the first 4 minutes and 59 seconds. We'll move down to the co-main event, this is an idea for who Rozenstruik can fight, Marcin Tybura. And this was a classic Walt Harris performance. He comes out, he's super aggressive, he hurts the guy, he tries to swarm him for a finish, he gasses out, gets taken down, and gets ground and pound for a finish. I mean, Walt Harris looks like he came out to take somebody's head off tonight. And it was eerily similar to the Alistair Overeem fight. He came out, he was super aggressive, he landed on Tabora, hurt him badly, was kind of going for the finish. Tabora was able to survive, eventually catches a body kick, takes him down, and just treats him like a baby on the ground. And I don't know if this is Harris's lack of jiu-jitsu, which that's definitely a factor in it, or it was the fact that he threw so many punches in that first, minute, 2 minutes, that he was kind of tired at this point. And eventually Marcin Tybura was able to get his back, flatten him out, and just beat the living shit out of Walt Harris. So this has got to be probably the end of Walt Harris's career for the UFC at least. He just, he's not cutting it. And the heavyweight division is terrible. So maybe they'll keep him just because of the lack of talent. But, these last few fights for him have just been atrocious. And just another performance where, again, classic Walt Harris. He comes out, he starts to look a little bit good. He starts looking like he might get the finish, and then he gets finished himself. As far as the next fight, Roman Dolidze versus Staropoli, this fight was terrible. Staropoli was grappled the entire time, was unable to do anything. Dolidze had his back mount, had the back lock the entire fight, was just holding him, typical Khabib position, where he didn't have like the hooks in or anything, but just he had the body lock and had the back, and they were just leaning against the cage the entire time, limited action. The absolute best fight on the card, and Dolidze got the decision, by the way, in case I didn't say that. The absolute best fight on the card was Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Miguel Baeza. What a phenomenal fight, start to finish. Santiago Ponzinibbio came out and was just pressuring Miguel Baeza nonstop. And Baeza was avoiding the strikes, and he started throwing the nastiest leg kicks. And it wasn't one of those guys, a lot of times you'll see a fight where a guy's landing a leg kick and then all of a sudden he just stops. He was throwing leg kicks nonstop, and it was the low leg kicks, the calf kicks. And just from the very first round on, Ponzinibbio was already starting to get unstable on that lead leg. He was putting a lot of weight on it, and he was just getting chopped down. And after that first round, it was not looking good for him at all because he came out with heavy, heavy pressure. And Baeza started chopping that leg. The next thing you know, Ponzinibbio is the one backing up. Baeza was also using some decent front kicks, too, to negate the pressure as well. But after that first round, I felt like Ponzinibbio was most likely going to lose that fight, Just seeing, his game plan was just completely changed around. The leg was unstable. He was slipping all over the place. And Baeza was still chopping the leg. And only a couple times did Ponzinibbio, turn his shin in. Supposedly the way you're supposed to check those calf kicks is, when people kick the thigh, you're supposed to lift up and they hit the knee bone. But for the calf kicks, you're supposed to turn your shin into them. That's supposedly the best way, or try to get out of the way. He did it a couple times, but he was really just eating them, and he was putting his full weight on that front leg, and it was just not looking good. The leg was buckling. But the second round came out, and it looked like more of the same. But then Ponzinibbio just started jabbing him to death, snapping his head back, landing some good shots. And it was just phenomenal. And then in the third round, a little bit more of the same. It was back and forth. Guys were just slugging it out. But Ponzinibbio was winning the exchanges. He was landing some jabs, following up. Then he started landing some heavy leg kicks of his own on Baeza. He was throwing almost like soccer-type leg kicks. It was almost taking Baeza off his feet. But what an amazing performance by Ponzinibbio. I'm happy that he was able to get a win. It was a fun fight. We got an interesting prospect coming up against a guy who's been around for a while, but, he was been out for a while, and then he came back against Lee and got KO'd brutally. And now he's able to get a win against Baeza. Hopefully, he gets 3 rounds in, maybe shake a little bit of the ring rust off, and I would love to see him, in a top 10 fight next. But what a performance, there was no quitting him. After that first round and round and a minute in the second round, I was thinking, oh, this is not looking good for Ponzinibbio, because after he started really getting his leg chopped to death, Baeza was starting to land some stuff with the hands as well. So it just wasn't looking good. And for him to be able to turn it around and come back and win was spectacular. I thought he deserved it. It should have been 29-28. I gave him the second and the third round. It was an absolute great fight. If there's one fight you go back and rewatch on this card, it would be Ponzinibbio versus Miguel Baeza. So if you guys want to check that out, go check it out. The next fight on the main card, I'm just going to go through the whole main card. Dusko Todorovic versus Gregory Rodrigues. Gregory Rodrigues came in on short notice. First UFC fight, I believe, or he came off Contender Series, I think. I'm not 100% sure. And the basic story of the fight was Rodrigues was a better striker. And Todorovic could not get him down. He tried to grapple him on multiple occasions, try to take him down. But Rodrigues was stuffing the takedowns and landing on the feet. And Rodrigues was being super conservative with his strikes. He was landing, but he was conserving his energy. He didn't have a full training camp for this. So, he really picked his shots. He showed pretty good takedown defense because Todorovic was really looking for that takedown. A couple times it looked like, he might get it, but nope, he got shrugged off. And I think in the second round, I want to say, but I'm not 100% sure, Rodrigues was mixing it up, and he shot it on a takedown. He just shot right through Todorovic. Great takedown. Great win for Gregory Rodrigues. Some people thought Todorovic, he's young up-and-comer, thought he might be something. But Rodrigues, kind of turned him back here and wins by decision. The first fight on the main card was Montana De La Rosa versus Ariana Lipsky. And De La Rosa just absolutely dominated her. She took her down in the first round. She landed some ground and pound. She split her open, had her bleeding pretty badly in the first round. And just overall, she just dominated her completely in that first round. And then the second round, more of the same. She takes her down. But this time, after she lands some ground and pound, she eventually takes full mount, just starts raining down punches, elbows, everything under the sun. And finally, the referee stops it. TKO, second round. It was a great performance by De La Rosa. I don't know if she's going to be able to compete with Valentina Shevchenko, but I don't know if anybody can compete with Valentina Shevchenko. It was a good win for her, but again, I've said this in previous videos, when I look at a fight card, I look for fights, they're going to answer questions and then also push people towards a potential, contender fight or, a championship fight, and I just don't know if, she's going to be able to compete with Valentina, so it kind of dampens the win a little bit in my perspective. But overall, the card was kind of, other than that Ponzinibbio fight, the card was kind of a stinker. Even in the main event where you had the KO by Rozenstruik, the fight was just boring, The Roman Dolidze versus Staropoli fight was absolutely terrible. Gregory Rodrigues fight was okay. And the Marcin Tabora versus Walt Harris fight was kind of fun. It was just your typical Walt Harris fight. So let me know what you guys thought of this card. Am I just crazy complaining or, am I justified in my complaints? I'll be putting out UFC 263 prediction videos early this week, or I guess next week. Technically, the week starts on Sunday. So be on the lookout for those. So make sure you subscribe and make sure you turn on notifications. I think that pretty much does it for this video. And also leave a comment and let me know, who do you want to see Rozenstruik fight next? I'm curious who people would match him up with next. So make sure you leave that in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.